What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Crunch Time. It's me, Jeff Iafrate, and the ball knower, Lukas Klotz, and we're here to really break down my first ever full first-round NFL mock draft. We do a lot of Lions content. We do a lot of Lions mock drafts. But today, I decided to do my first ever full NFL first-round mock draft. And
it's all teams, right? Not just the Lions?
All teams.
Okay.
Every single pick in the first round. No trades, of course. No trades. And I thought, you know what? The ball knower can grade it. He can pick it apart. If he likes it, he doesn't like it, hey, we'll discuss it. But we're going to do it in segments. So I'm going to do the first 7 or so picks, the next 7 or 8 picks, and so on and so forth until we get to the end of the first round. And then you'll see who I have the Lions taking in this mock draft. And it's been a player that I've liked and I've been liking for the last at least couple of days since I've turned on the tape. But to start, we'll start with the first handful of picks. So here we go. So at number 1, this is a no-brainer decision to me. You take Caleb Williams. And I didn't factor in trades, but this isn't beside, like, take out the trade part of it. I think Caleb Williams is QB1. He's a quarterback prospect that the Bears can't afford to pass on, because if they do and they trade the first round pick, they trade back, they keep Fields, you're going to have to reset the market with Fields. Now you have an opportunity to, again, reset the rookie contract, continue to build with a quarterback under a rookie contract who, quite frankly, I think is way better than Justin Fields. So that's why I have him going number 1. I think it'd be an easy decision for Ryan Poles. Number 2, the Commanders, they get their quarterback. Cliff Kingsbury, he was at USC before taking the job with the Commanders. I know ideally they'd want Caleb Williams, but of course he's off the board. So they go with the next best quarterback available. And to me, that is Drake May. There's been conversations about Jaden Daniels potentially being there at 2. You know, if the Commanders want to take Jaden Daniels, I like Drake May a lot. They have obviously a former North Carolina quarterback, your guy Sam Howell there. But here they get a better version, better version of Sam Howell with Drake May on that rookie deal to surround him. And they got good weapons. I mean, they got to improve their offensive line. But you look at the offensively, Lucas, they got weapons for Drake May. Number 3, though, the Patriots. They take a quarterback. I've seen Marvin Harrison Jr. Mocked to the Patriots, and I've seen the conversation, why draft a quarterback if the Patriots situation isn't ideal for a rookie? Listen, here's the thing about drafting a quarterback. Yes, situation matters. Okay, it does. But you can't pass on talent like this. You just can't. Especially a guy, a Heisman winner, one of the best quarterback statistically in college football. Jaden Daniels is electric. And you get an opportunity now with the new regime in New England to get it right. Mac Jones didn't work out. Bailey Zapp, the battle between those guys, it was fun. And they need weapons. But Jaden Daniels is a franchise quarterback, and they were able to do that. And 3 quarterbacks off the board through my first 3 picks. And, of course, at 4, this is probably the easiest decision to me besides Caleb Williams. It's Marvin Harrison Jr., the best, arguably the best player, one of the best players in this entire draft class. You give Kyler Murray, who you just gave a god-awful contract to, the best weapon by far in this draft. And I heard someone say this, and I don't know who exactly it was, but they said Marvin Harrison Jr., whatever team gets him, he's the type of guy that when his career's done, there'll be a statue outside of the stadium named of Marvin Harrison Jr. That's the type of talent he is. So those are my first 4 picks, Lucas. Your thoughts?
Caleb Williams should be one in every mock draft that is made in the NFL draft, so we can just move on past that. Everything you said is spot on about Caleb Williams. All you need to hear is Caleb Williams. That's all you need to know. Now, here, and I don't hate Drake May at 2. But me personally, I just think there's something about Jaden Daniels that he is the number 2 quarterback for me, and then just a small step behind is Drake May. But Jaden Daniels is just different, man. The things he can do athletically, and he does have a very good arm. I think after the combine, and I'm saying for the exposure, for people to buy in on Jaden Daniels too, because going into this draft throughout the season, it was pretty much like Caleb Williams and Drake May. That was the consensus.
Right.
But after seeing Jaden Daniels win the Heisman, yes, I know he has Malik Neighbors, so that helps. But Jaden Daniels, I just think, is different, and he can do things that Drake May cannot athletically. And where the NFL is going, I think there's some value to that. So that's why I think he goes to Washington. Not to mention Drake May. I just see him in New England. And to your point about, I have even heard the scenario, the Patriots shouldn't take a rookie quarterback. That's not a place for the rookie quarterback to succeed. What true veteran is going to New England to win? Like, Kirk Cousins is not going to New England. You're going to be looking at potentially a Jimmy Garoppolo off a 2-game suspension. Maybe he returns to New England. Either way, you take a quarterback at 3, you're going to be able to get a journeyman quarterback. I don't know who's going to want to go to New England, but a guy that's like a Gardner Minshew, Taylor Heineke-esque. They'll have that guy. Let him develop behind him for a couple weeks, and then you give Drake May the start. I think they have to take a quarterback. They have to. And then Marvin Harrison, I've said it before, and people can call me insane for it. I think he does what Justin Jefferson does, just a little bit better. I think there will be, in 2 or 3 years, Marvin Harrison will be the consensus #1 wide receiver. And with Kyler Murray, who needs that right now when he's on the down part of his career so far, and Hollywood Brown, he's good, but when he's available, his availability is something that's definitely in question. You saw Trey McBride over the middle of this year. He really picked it up, and he looks like he's going to be a stud. So if you can have Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, and Hollywood Brown, not to mention James Conner as a solid back, Kyler Murray has everything he needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question.
Well,
I think the Jane Daniels point you brought up is actually I do see what you're saying, and I see a lot of people have Jane Daniels as QB2. The Commanders are in an interesting spot here because they hired Cliff Kingsbury. They're Cliff Kingsbury obviously comfortable with Caleb Williams. They hired him there, I think, for a lot of different reasons. It's confusing. I know it's a lot of people in the world get jobs because of who you know. It's just how it works. Cliff Kingsbury continuing to get hired is mind-boggling. But you'd think they could hire Cliff Kingsbury based upon the possibility they can trade up and get Caleb Williams. So if Caleb Williams goes to the Bears, I'm curious which direction the Commanders go. Jane Daniels versus Drake May, and then of course, like you said, maybe Drake May, at least what he does, the type of quarterback he is, it fits a little what the Patriots are looking for. But at the same time, I think we can agree. You would agree that 3 quarterbacks are going off the board the first 2 picks.
Have to. Even if it's not these teams, if you're trading up in the NFL draft and you're not taking quarterback in the first 3 picks, that trade was absolutely useless, and you just lost so much value. So if it has to be 3 quarterbacks, it has to.
All right, we're going to go down to my next handful of picks here that we can kind of walk through those as well. So I'm going to go 5 to 8. So here's okay. Let me break this down for you. All right. So 5, I have Brock Bowers. I have Brock Bowers going to the Los Angeles Chargers. And think about this for a second. All right. Okay. Jim Harbaugh, look at his success. And Joe Clapp brought this up, and I agree with him as well. Look at his success at Michigan. They've always been tight end centric. They've always had a good tight end a part of his system. And Brock Bowers is a guy that could put his hand in the dirt. He's a weapon. He's one of the best tight end prospects we've seen, at least at the collegiate level. And he would walk into a Charger situation with an aging Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, who, is cooked. You just got Quentin Johnston, which, he's on bust alert. We'll see if he can bounce back. He didn't look great his rookie season, but you get a weapon on this Chargers offense that I think that would not only help Justin Herbert, but I think based upon the offense that Harbaugh wants to run, I think Brock Bowers is a perfect fit with the Chargers. And then at number 6, I have Malik Neighbors, who, the Malik Neighbors versus Rome Odunze argument is going to be an interesting one because Malik Neighbors with Jayden Daniels, he broke out at LSU. He ripped apart every secondary he faced. And you look at the Giants, I think they're also a team that could potentially be looking to trade up for a quarterback. But let's say they stay put. There's no trades in this mock. Malik Neighbors is a weapon that they got to give Daniel Jones. You got to give him more talent. They got Darren Waller. They drafted Jalen Hyatt. He's good, but he hasn't really, grown into his own yet. And you get a proven LSU wide receiver, and name me the other LSU wide receiver they took who had one of the greatest rookie seasons. Not saying Malik Neighbors will be Odell Beckham, but still I think Malik Neighbors can certainly help out that offense. Brian Dable and Daniel Jones. Joe Alt to the Titans. I
love this pick.
I think, they drafted an offensive lineman last year. You got a second year now quarterback in Will Levis. Build up that offensive line. That's what they need to focus on. It felt like they really had just the rookie last year being they're by far their best player on their offensive line. They add Joe Alt to be on the other side along with him. And then at number 8, I have Dallas Turner to the Falcons. And I think defensively, that's kind of what the Falcons should be focusing on. Assuming they go get a guy like Kirk Cousins, they draft Dallas Turner. He's going to come and help out this defense. They signed some secondary players last year. And obviously they already have A.J. Terrell. So I like Dallas Turner now, a big piece, one of the best edges in college football, played in the SEC, of course, with Alabama. I think he would tremendously help out this Falcons defense. But your thoughts on these 4 picks?
I'll tell you this much. Malik Neighbors, you brought up the conversation between him and Roma Duze. It's not close. It's not close. Marvin Harrison, if he was not in this draft, Malik Neighbors would be pick number 4. Malik Neighbors is going to be a stud in the NFL. He's going to be in Marvin Harrison's shadow his whole career. But in my opinion, that does not matter. Malik Neighbors to New York is a perfect fit. The pick ahead of it, though. Now, it's not that I do not like Brock Bowers, but if we're being honest, Jim Harbaugh, defensive guy, Khalil Mack or Bosa, most likely one of those guys are going to be cut. And when you're asking me who would put a better imprint on a team between Dallas Turner and Brock Bowers, I think Jim Harbaugh, the LA Chargers, they're going to go Dallas Turner at 5. When you look at how important it is having an edge rusher, not to mention Bosa and Khalil Mack, let's say they keep both. One of them, I'm not even going to say that because one of them has to go because of their cap. So we have either Bosa or Mack. Those guys are on the decline of their career. Dallas Turner, I think it's because how offensive heavy this draft is. After this combine, again, it's going to be consensus in these mock drafts because I've been seeing Brock Bowers at 5 a lot. And it's not that I do not like Brock Bowers as a player, but at 5, it makes me cringe. It just makes me irk. Like, no, you don't do that. Like Kyle Pitts, great player. Not a top 5 pick. Even if Sam Laporta was in the draft this year, not a top 5 pick. You don't take him top 5. A tight end at 5 just blows my mind, but a defensive end who's a stud, who Jim Harbaugh had to coach against in the college football playoffs, that has Dallas Turner written all over for me. Again, I don't hate the pick. I just hate the tight end at 5. So I'm going to drop Brock Bowers out of the top 8. But as far as Joel Alt, to your point with Will Levis and then drafting Peter Skoransky last year, you have just built what you need to start the foundation of a rebuild. Yeah, it's not the sexiest pick. It's not the flashy wide receiver out of LSU. It's not the defensive end out of Alabama. It's the tackle out of Notre Dame. It's not what you want right now. It's what you need. And Joe Alt is exactly what the Titans need. And then to your point, if let's say Dallas Turner falls to 8, Raheem Morris is going to be licking his chops. That's going to be guaranteed. There's no way Dallas Turner should fall outside the top 8, in my opinion. So the only thing I would switch is I would drop Brock out a little bit, and I would put Dallas Turner at 5. But as far as Neighbors and Alt, it's exactly what I think I would do and what should happen.
And it's funny you brought up the tight end point because if I was a GM,
not to cut you off real quick, but they have Gerald Everett and they have Darnell Parham. They're not game changers, but those guys are solid.
Yeah,
they can get you through it. You can draft another guy. You can go sign another guy. But my fault. Keep going.
No. If I was a GM, I agree with you. You know how I feel about positional value. You take the edge. Wide receiver, tackle. I think the 3 behind him are positionally worth more. And I'm interested to see, too, the new GM of the Chargers who came from the Ravens. It was a part of their, I think it was a part of their player personnel staff, or he was just a player evaluator for really all things draft. Though. Yeah, and he's great. Look at how the Ravens have approached it, right? Like Mark Andrews. Was he a first-round pick? No.
No, second.
So I'm curious which way the Chargers go, but I do in a way, like when Joe Klatt first said that point about Jim Harbaugh and what he likes to do offensively, you're right. They probably could get it done with Gerald Everett and what is it, Donald Parham, but still, I like Brock Bowers a lot, and Lions fans know this better than anybody. Tight ends in the top 10 typically don't work out in your favor. It's just how it goes historically. But those are my first 8 picks. I'm going to go ahead and put the next group of picks on the board here so we can go ahead and review them. So here's what I have at 9. So the Bears pick at 9, and there goes Rome Odunze. So the Bears end up with Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. They got DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. Like I think now you're putting together a respectable offense to me. So there's Rome Odunze, wide receiver 3 in this draft. Now at 10, the Jets, they need offensive line help for Aaron Rodgers. And Fashanu from Penn State, he's like, some would say, I think a lot of analysts would agree with this and draft experts, highest upside among tackles in this draft. And we watched him a lot. We watched the Michigan versus Penn State game, and that was one of his best games of the entire season with how he played. So you really got to see him against NFL players. And I think Fashanu is going to be an interesting pick there for the Jets to protect it. Now a 40-year-old, I believe, Aaron Rodgers. At number 11, I have Byron Murphy II to the Vikings. They need defensive line help. Now, we'll see what happens with Danielle Hunter. You could argue they need help in their secondary. I'm going to go ahead and address the defensive line. You build from within. And now with Danielle Hunter's future potentially in question, you get a franchise defensive lineman in Byron Murphy from Texas, who I think will be worth the value. Now, here's the interesting one at 12.
This is interesting.
I have J.J. McCarthy. Now, I said this on last night's show. Broncos, J.J. McCarthy. That is exactly the type of quarterback that Sean Payton, in my opinion, is looking for. Point guard, mobile. You write the script and he'll go execute it. He's not like Russell Wilson in a way where he's going to go off script and go against really the ideology of a Sean Payton. So I think his fit with the Denver Broncos is great. And now you have 3 quarterbacks off the board. JJ's the next one up. And you obviously would take him over Michael Penix or Bo Nix, in my opinion, based on upside. So those are the next 4 picks. Lucas, your initial thoughts?
Rome Odunze to Chicago, I love. I think it's a lot like Malik Neighbors' pick as far as that's what I think will happen. That should happen. I think Odunze, I think not that he's overrated, but I think the fact that he was the best wide receiver, arguably, in the #1 wide receiver trio in the college football last year, I think that helps him as far as what his narrative is. I'm not saying he's going to be a bad player, but I could see Rome Odunze kind of when he not that he's going to be bad again, but I think the ceiling should be lowered for him, if I should put it that way. But to Chicago at 9, I think that's what the offense needs, their defense. You could pretty much say, yeah, maybe we need a safety. We just let go of Eddie Jackson, but you're not taking a safety at 9. So Rome Odunze, I love that. Fashanu, this screams Jets to me. I think this is what they will do. I think there's an argument for a player out of Oregon State that we're probably going to get here too soon, that he could go here because I think he's the best pure pass blocker, and that's what Aaron Rodgers needs right now. But to your point, he's dynamic. He's athletic. He has the highest ceiling out of any tackle in this draft. So if the Jets do that, I think, yeah, you can criticize it if you want, but that's what they need to do, and I think that's what benefits them right now. And then Byron Murphy, I love this pick. I don't know if he's going to go this high, but if he does, especially to your point, because they're losing Danielle Hunter, this is where Byron Murphy should be drafted. But again, this is such an offensive-heavy draft.
Right.
He could drop lower, but I think Byron Murphy at 11, that's exactly where he should go, so I love this pick. And J.J. McCarthy, this one makes me think. This one, because it's just like you're going to throw J.J. McCarthy in a division with Jim Harbaugh and Patrick Mahomes. And right now, just you don't know what that offense is because Courtland Sutton's a very solid wide receiver that he could kind of get the ball down the field vertically to expand that for him as well. But Jerry Jeudy, you don't know what you're getting with. Javonte Williams is a solid back, but if they don't find themselves, like if Byron Murphy's sitting there, I can see them going, do we want to go JJ? Do we really want to do it, or are we going to talk Byron Murphy?
Right.
If there's not a clear defensive player right now, because I know Sean Payton, obviously an offensive mind, but that's why maybe this early on in his career, because now they're going to kind of restart that clock with Russell Wilson leaving. All right, Sean, do you? Maybe he tries to get a pivotal defensive player outside of Patrick Surtain and Justin Simmons on that front 7, and then you let him cook offensively. But if they take J.J. McCarthy, it's not that I hate it, but I'm going to be nervous for him, man. And I think that has that's a lot of pressure going in the AFC West as J.J. McCarthy, and that's going to be, I mean, even the Raiders, they're on the up and up once they get a quarterback. So it's just, I think that would be a tough situation. I know Sean Payton's there. It's more so what's around Sean Payton in the division. That's a pressure cooker for JJ, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. I think you got Mahomes and Herbert, and of course we'll see what the Raiders do as well. But this is a upside pick. Like I've argued that he's not ready to start initially, but he has no choice. I think if Russell's cut, it's going to be JJ McCarthy out there.
Who are they trotting out there at the end of the year after Russ? Oh, I can't even remember.
Jared Stidham. Was it Jared?
Yes, Jared. So they're not trotting out Jared Stidham week 1 to give JJ McCarthy. You're not doing that.
No, they're not. All right, we'll move on to the next handful of picks here. So this is what I have coming up here. Let me get rid of this banner so everyone can see a little more clearly. Okay. So 13, the Raiders, you're in a position where JJ's off the board. Yep. So you take the best player, and I think they need secondary help. You get Nate Wiggins, who I think is one of the best corners. Right now I have him as corner number 1 coming off the board out of Clemson. I think he's going to test well at the combine. He's got good size and good length. And I think he's a guy that the Raiders now with Antonio Pierce, that he's what they need right now. They need secondary. They got Marcus Peters. They had him, and he's, you know how Marcus Peters is. He's only getting older. And now they get a rookie to help out their secondary. And then the Saints, they lost Armstead to the Dolphins, and they need offensive line help. And now with who they have at quarterback, which we'll see. Derek Carr is the future, but still, Derek Carr, I don't know what the Saints are doing, but they need offensive line help, certainly. So you get Fuaga out of Oregon State, who is a massive human being, huge. And you mentioned it as pass blocking, which is like off the charts as well. They have an opportunity to get their franchise tackle. Quinyon Mitchell goes to the Colts. I like this fit. Obviously, the Combine's in Indianapolis. They're going to have an opportunity to see Quinyon Mitchell. He's a dog. And I think what the Colts are looking for, again, secondary help. You got a guy outside corner that can come in and help you right away. 16, the Seattle Seahawks. This is what we talked about as a potential spot for J.J. McCarthy. He's off the board. So now their mindset with Schneider is best player available. And to me, it's Jackson Powers Johnson. Going there at 16. You actually brought this up to me first. And the more I did this mock draft, I'm like, it makes too much sense. Like Seattle.
Especially with JJ off the board, to your point.
You get a franchise center. He's versatile. Again, he's the best player, and he's the most athletic offensive lineman, I think, in the entire draft. But your thoughts on these 4 picks?
I love the Nate Wiggins pick. Just to your point, if JJ's gone, the Raiders have not had a lockdown corner since Nnamdi Asomugha back in like 2008. They need a cornerback more than anything. You look, Diablo and even Denzel Perryman for the linebacker core in the Raiders. They're not bad. They're not bad by any means. They're not superstars, but they can hold it down. Then obviously have Max Crosby on your defensive line just causing issues. He's a one-man wrecking crew. Now, I think they will add more to that defensive line in free agency or the draft, but to get Nate Wiggins at 13, I love the pick. I love the value. Nate Wiggins, I think, is a baller. I think he's going to be a great man-to-man corner. And when you have Max Crosby send in the house and you can have a corner outside him that can man up, there's a lot of value in that. And then we got through Fuega earlier. I think this man, he's a day one starter. You draft him, you let him pick out his jersey number, you give him his shoulder pad and his helmet, you put him at left tackle, and you don't worry about it. He's a man. He is a massive human that is going to be a great player in this league for 10 to 15 years, in my opinion. Now, here's the one where I don't hate the player, but at Indianapolis, I don't think they need a slot corner. Not that he can't play outside, but when you have a corner like Terrion Arnold, I think, especially with Kenny Moore on the inside, and what people don't talk about, everybody was talking about the Jameson Williams suspension for the Lions, but Isaiah Rodgers for the Indianapolis Colts was a playmaker. He's now over in Philly, and he's going to be starting playing again this year because I'm pretty sure he bet on the Colts inside a team facility, and he got suspended the whole year, so he's gone. They miss him, and he's a long playmaking cornerback. I think Terrion Arnold would be the pick here. Obviously, I live in Toledo. I'm a big Quinyon Mitchell guy. I just don't think he goes here, but I do not hate it. I do not hate it because they do need to address the cornerback position. And then to your point, Jackson Powers Johnson at 16 for Seattle. You could everything I said about Fuega earlier. Jackson Powers Johnson, you draft him, give him his jersey, give him his helmet, give him his shoulder pads, and you don't think twice. You just let him play. So I don't hate any of those picks. Like I said, I would probably just switch Arnold and Quinyon there.
Yeah, it definitely with the corners too. That was probably the hardest thing to kind of go through. Is there's so many. This is a deep corner class, and there's still more corners to even get to. Like Quinyon Mitchell, and you look at Terrion Arnold out of Alabama, who's CB1 there. Him and Kool-Aid McKinstry. There's a little bit of a debate there. I don't hate that at all. I think if you want a true outside corner, then Arnold's probably the way to go. But speaking of Arnold, I do have him. Not going too far away from the other players here in my next slate of picks. So here you go. Cooper DeJean sighting. He goes 17. I think
I actually love this
Jacksonville is a perfect spot for him because they need secondary help. You get a guy who's a playmate. He could play special teams too. He has a handful of pick sixes at Iowa. He's probably, my guess is he'll be moved to safety. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think Cooper DeJean in Jacksonville is a great fit. The Bengals get tackle help with J.C. Latham. He's one of the best tackles in this draft. I think the Bengals, you look at Joe Burrow, I mean, getting that man more protection is never a bad thing, especially when you look at the Chiefs in the AFC, look at their offensive line, look what they've been able to do. I think that should be the Bengals, really their priority moving forward. And they got guys to pay. So now why not get a true franchise tackle on a rookie deal? I think it makes sense. And then the Rams, this one I thought about because you look at some of their young defensive linemen. The thing is, though, at corner is where they really struggle. They don't have great corners. They have Quentin Lake, Witherspoon. I think Terrion Arnold over there in LA would be a great fit because look at the Rams division as well. Look at the receivers they're going to have to cover. I think Arnold, the points you made about Arnold earlier, And maybe he's off the board here. Maybe a Quinyon Mitchell's a guy they look at. But for Arnold, an outside corner, they got outside receivers that he's going to have to cover. So I like the fit there. And then the Steelers. This one was
back-to-back Bama corners.
Well, back-to-back Bama players too. Look at that, three deep. So I have Kool-Aid McKinstry at 20. And the reason why is because the Steelers are in it. It's an interesting pick because do they take a quarterback like they took one with Kenny Pickett at 20? I contemplated that, a Bo Nix, a Michael Penix. And then I thought to myself, what would Mike Tomlin do? He's going to draft another corner because this is what he does.
They need one as well.
Yeah, they need one as well. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think that's a guy Tomlin's going to fall in love with. I'll see how he tests at the 40. That could affect him, but at the end of the day, he's a playmaker, and he's a guy that has a knack for the football. So I like his fit with the Steelers. But what do you think about it? That's 3 Bama players in a row there with Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, first of all, the Cooper DeJean pick I love. To your point, because even with Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell, their corner room is solid. But in the back end, you can't keep running Alex Wingard out there. You can't. Cooper DeJean, you put him in, you start him at your strong safety. If you want to do free safety as well, it doesn't matter. Just put the man at safety and let him make plays. And now you have a very good secondary, in my opinion. I think Tyson Campbell missing time this year really showed Jacksonville that, yeah, we do not have a lot of depth defensively. So when Tyson Campbell comes back and Cooper DeJean, I like it. J.C. Latham, again, I don't want to spend too much time because it's just a perfect fit. Cincinnati, you protect Joe Burrow. He was injured this year after his ACL injury in his rookie year. Obviously, you need Joe Burrow to be protected at all times because he's at a high injury risk, especially already suffering these injuries early on. You need to protect that man because he has Jamar Chase. That's all he needs on the outside. I know T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are free agents. They probably won't come back, but I don't think they take a wide receiver here at 18. I wouldn't be shocked. I think it's a possibility, but I think they would trade back before they do that. I never thought about Terrion Arnold going to LA just because I didn't think he would fall that far. But in this situation, if he is there, yes, this is exactly what they should do. Not only is it the best player available, in my opinion, but it's the biggest need that they have. Because you could say, I like Akella Witherspoon. I understand that, but he cannot go out there as your cornerback one. That's like the Lions sending Kendall Vildor or Cam Sutton expecting to go lock down Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk twice here. It's not going to happen. And Kool-Aid McKinstry here. But I know you had Quinyon going 15.
Yep.
But this is where I think Quinyon goes. I think Quinyon Mitchell is a Pittsburgh Steeler. But if Kool-Aid McKinstry is there, I don't hate it whatsoever. I think if you put Kool-Aid and Joey Porter as a cornerback duo, you're going to be in a very good situation secondary-wise, especially when you have Minkah Fitzpatrick for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, with him on the back end, that's a hell of a secondary. We know what they have on the defensive line. At least with their secondary, that's kind of been an issue. Joey Porter played better towards the end of the season, but I think moving forward, if you got even Kool-Aid or Quinyon Mitchell, whoever's there, along with Joey Porter Jr., now we're getting back to what the identity, what the Steelers typically have, which is a defense that's going to make you work. And their offense, assuming they sign a veteran quarterback, they'll be able to figure that out as well. All right, let's go to the next handful of picks here.
Mason Rudolph will be starting at some point for the Steelers next year. Guarantee it.
Most likely. All right, so I know you, Lucas. I know you. And I know you have.
Oh, there it is. I didn't see it at first. Oh.
So let me hold on. Let me make sure you can see. Okay. So here's my thought process with these picks. So the Dolphins, I don't really even need to go into this. Marius Mims, the tackle out of Georgia, the Bengals, I almost said. The Dolphins, they need offensive line help too, man. And I think for protecting Tua should be their number one priority, especially because he's about a concussion away from possibly retiring. So keeping him protected is everything. And you get a large human being. Again, an athletic tackle from Georgia. I think Mims will be great with the Dolphins. Of course, at 22, Ennis Rakestraw Jr. Eagles they need help at corner. No, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that. I think they'll go corner in this draft at 22. And I think Ennis Rakestraw Jr., probably the best available corner and a guy that played really well in the SEC against really SEC wide receivers. So that's why I had him to the Eagles. Jared Verse to the Texans. That is a home run for the Texans.
Put it on a
plate. They get Jared.
Put it on a plate.
Yeah, put it on a plate. It's a platter. They got Will Anderson, Jared Verse, D'Amico Ryans he's licking his chops. Because Jared Verse, they have some free agents on the defensive line. You're bringing now a rookie next to now second year Will Anderson Jr. That's a hell of a defensive line moving forward. And then Latu, the edge from UCLA.
No.
This is my prediction, okay? I think Latu falls a little bit because of the neck injury, maybe some of the concerns. And to me, if he falls, this is like the perfect Dallas Cowboys pick. Like they're going to get Latu and everyone's going to be like, how'd they get him? Because he had some random neck injury 2 years ago and everyone was scared. And the Dallas Cowboys take him. They need size on the defensive line. Micah Parsons, he's a terrific player. But at the same time, they don't have a ton of size. You can run all over the Dallas Cowboys. I think Latu with his pass rush upside and just his size, I think he would fit well on their defensive line with DeMarcus Lawrence and company. So there's my 4 picks. What do you think, Lucas?
Look, it's not that I dislike any of these because Jared Verse and Latu, if they were to fall to 23 and 24, take them because those are the perfect situation for both teams. Could you imagine Latu next to Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, Jared Verse next to Will Anderson? It would be disgusting. I don't think either of these players fall this far. We could go back and look at it and say, yeah, they'll go here. But to your point, if these players fall this far, home run hits. Amarius Mims, I love it. It's what they need. Not only do they have an iffy offensive line, they also have a very injured offensive line. So the more star talented players you can put in there, the better. Here's a pick that I don't hate the player because of the need that they have. But in my opinion, if I'm Howie Roseman sitting at 22 and I'm taking a corner, I'm not taking a guy with injury issues because that secondary was just completely exposed. Again, don't hate the pick here because it's not that Rakestraw is bad. I just think there's more risk. Yeah. If I'm taking a corner, I'm going over to Iowa State. I don't care about what the consensus is. I'm taking TJ Tampa there because TJ Tampa, I don't see many flaws in TJ Tampa's game. I know he's not playing in the SEC like Rakestraw was. He's playing in the Big 12, but TJ Tampa is a monster, and that's who I would take at 22. But I don't hate the Rakestraw selection whatsoever just because obviously they need a corner bad.
Yeah, and I do agree with the Rakestraw evaluation because I know scouts have been coming out and saying they like Rakestraw. I watched a little bit of his tape. I'm not going to speak like I know the man inside and out, but I agree with you. I think the injury concerns are real. Again, he's a guy that played in the SEC, played against SEC wide receivers. I'm curious with the corners. Like they still have Kamari Lassiter, TJ Tampa. Like there's some good corners on the board. Why not bring in a Lassiter? You have all these other Georgia Bulldogs. Go get another Georgia Bulldog. But yeah, that 22 spot, I would assume they're going corner, but the player was a tough one to decide there, which corner they'll go with. But listen, the edges too, another point, AFC, look at the quarterbacks at the top of the AFC. I think having the best possible pass rush, I think is ideal for those teams. But yeah, I'm with you though, like being realistic, Jared Verse, he is too good to drop to 23. Same with Latu. So I'm curious if those guys are even here by the end of it. But let's go. My last pick I wanted to show here is Newton. He goes to the Packers. There's another part of their defensive line. He can help with the run game. Their run defense isn't great. Why not go get Jarzan Newton, who's again, I use this a lot today, but a huge man. He's a space taker. He takes up space, and I like to fit with the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I dislike Jarzan Newton. My thing is this. It looks like, first of all, they traded Rasul Douglas at the trade deadline, and it looks like Jair Alexander could be on his way out. So to your point, if you don't, let's say TJ Tampa or Lattister or Ennis or Rakestraw, those guys, I feel like they're pretty close together as far as where they could be taken in the draft. I think they take a corner there, but I don't hate taking Newton there just because they have Kenny Clark, who's getting up there in age. They're going to have to move on from him eventually. Rashawn Gary had a year. They added to the edge last year with Lucas Van Ness for whatever reason. So if you replenish that defensive line and make it a strength, like a true strength, especially when their defense was shaky last year, I don't hate that pick whatsoever because Newton is a monster of a man.
Now, here's the next set of picks, and right here. So I have Troy Franklin going to the Buccaneers because you're seeing the reports, and a lot of this is hard to do before free agency because, again, like teams might fill some of their holes with free agency and not just the draft. But assuming right now where we are right now, assuming what the Bucs I expect them to do, which is not be able to re-sign Mike Evans. So go get another deep threat, 6'3" Troy Franklin out of Oregon. Who, like if you watch the Pac-12 and watch what he did with Bo Nix, that dude is a playmaker. And I think for getting Baker Mayfield more weapons is a need to keep his production up, keep his again, keep him comfortable, but also a guy that, again, if he's pressured, Baker Mayfield, he's a gunslinger. Troy Franklin, I think, would fit really well with the Buccaneers. And then Troy Fatanu, I believe his last name is. I think the Cardinals, the fit right there. Now you get a left tackle to help Kyler Murray, can play right tackle. I think he's a guy that the Cardinals, you already got Marvin Harrison Jr. You probably could argue they need defensive help. You could make that case here at 27. I wouldn't hate it. I just think addressing the offensive line is a must, especially for Kyler Murray, who we already know the injury history, but also the fact that he's not the biggest man either. So I think protecting him is everything. The Bills, Brian Thomas
is an interesting pick.
I love Brian Thomas Jr. He's like, because Malik Neighbors is getting all the praise and deservedly so, but people forget about Brian Thomas Jr. That he would be perfect. He would be like the perfect upgrade / replacement for Gabe Davis. Like Gabe Davis walks in free agency and they get Brian Thomas Jr., a deep threat, an explosive playmaker to add along with that wide receiver core and a guy that has a ton of upside. So that's why I have him there. And at 29, the Lions are in an interesting position because I didn't trade out. I wanted to take the best player I thought was available. I think the Lions' biggest need is corner. Why not get Kamari Lassiter, a guy that I think culturally fits with what the Lions are looking for in a player, right? The mindset, the way he plays, the aggressiveness, the competitiveness. Man played in the Senior Bowl when he really didn't even have to. He just wanted to compete. And the only thing I'm curious about Kamari is his 40 time, which, again, I don't think Brad even values the 40 time like others do. So if we're talking about like football IQ, I think Kamari's up there. I think when targeted, he allows like a 38.5% completion percentage, and he played a lot in zone coverage, man coverage. He was great in both. He actually had a higher grade in man coverage, according to PFF. And he, again, SEC corner, played it on big stages, faced some of the best wide receivers, of course, in the SEC. So I love Kamari at that spot. I'm going to go down here and get through the rest. The Ravens get Keon Coleman. This is a jump ball 50-50. This is what Lamar Jackson needs. Like, you need a guy that, again, Keon Coleman's open deep. Lamar, another weapon for him. He's 6'4". He's got great size. And I think kind of fitting with who they have currently as Zay Flowers, about 5'9", 5'10". Here's Keon Coleman, 6'4", 4.4 speed. I think his fit with the Ravens is great. They get another weapon for him. And then TJ Tampa with the 49ers, I think, is one of the sleepers of this entire draft, because the 49ers, they already have Tre'Davious Ward. Now you get TJ Tampa. With that defense, that defensive line, I think they're going to love this pick. The fact that TJ Tampa's even there at 31. So they walk away with TJ Tampa. And then I have the Chiefs taking Ladd McConkey because, come on. Slot receiver. I think of him as a guy that I think would fit perfectly. I know a lot of receivers could fit with Mahomes, but specifically his skill set, his ability to create space, his football IQ. He's always open and he's reliable. And I think that's exactly what the Chiefs are looking for, again, to kind of fill in the slot there. They have Rashee Rice. He's a good outside receiver. Now they get Ladd McConkey to kind of fit in that wide receiver core. But we'll start at the top here. Just your thoughts on really from Troy Franklin down.
Troy Franklin, I love the player, but in my opinion, Todd Bowles, kind of a defensive guy, with the fact that they're probably going to lose Sean Bertie-Muffing and Antoine Winfield. They're going to lose one of them. You can't re-sign both of them. I think they're going to address that secondary. I could see Lassiter going here, but if they took Troy Franklin to replace Mike Evans, I don't hate it whatsoever. Now, Fanatu, or I don't know how to pronounce it like specifically. Yeah, they took Paris Johnson last year, and you could use the same argument with Jonathan Gannon that you make with Bowles. Am I tweaking? Bowles is a defensive guy, right?
Yes, he is.
Okay, yeah, I was just making sure. I was second guessing myself for some reason. But with Jonathan Gannon, I think this is where they could also go secondary. So we could see the TJ Tampa and Lassiter right here, or this could be also a possible trade up or trade down. I don't know if Arizona is going to stay here, especially if they already got who'd you have them taking first?
Marvin Harrison Jr.
So you take Marvin, you drop back, you get more value, so you can fill two needs with one pick. I think that's a possibility there. But if they want to take two tackles that you can put right next to Paris Johnson, I don't hate that idea whatsoever. And then Brian Thomas Jr., I think this is a sneaky pick. To your point with Gabe Davis leaving, Brian Thomas Jr., he can go up and get up any ball. He's a physical wide receiver. I love this pick. And then Lassiter to the Lions, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think, in my opinion, if you're sitting here, what's stopping you from getting T'Vondre Sweat? In my opinion, at 29, because I think he would be a bigger impact right away when you consider Aiden Hutchinson and Lee McNeil. I think he could have a bigger impact right away in a win-now situation than Lassiter, who's not bad by any means, but to your point, there's some questions surrounding him, so he could be a little bit of a developmental guy. Don't hate the pick, though. Keon Coleman, people forget that Keon Coleman is 6'4" because he's juking people out. He's athletic. He runs a 4.4. If he falls to the 30s, this will be one of those guys, when you look 2 or 3 years down the road, you're like, why did he not go 15, 16, 17? Like 30 is way too low. And I think you can say the same thing about TJ Tampa, because I think if he falls to 31 and the Lions pass on him, I would have something to say about that one. I would have something to say, because if you let the San Francisco 49ers get TJ Tampa, there's an issue in the NFC, I think, because their weakness defensively was solely the secondary, the cornerback position, because they're going to get Hufanga back. There's no doubt in that, and he's a baller. So if they get TJ Tampa, that's a home run, and you know how I feel about Ladd. To your point, I think you said it perfectly. You spot on, because everything that you said about Ladd, he's very aware. He knows how to always get open. He's a very high IQ football player. That's what Travis Kelce is now. Obviously, Travis Kelce at the tight end is overly athletic. But like you said, you have Rashee Rice. Now you have a guy that is always open for Mahomes when Rice isn't, and now Kelce is gone. Who's going to be the Mr. Dependable? And I think Ladd McConkey, he reminds me a lot of Adam Thielen, and I think him and Mahomes would be a very dynamic duo to go outside of Rashee Rice as well.
Yeah, I do agree. I think a lot of these picks, it's tough because, like, the point you made about the Cardinals, it's a great point too. Like, I'm curious with defensive-minded head coaches what his priority is. Does he feel like, hey, we can kind of address the defense later in the draft, or are we going to take the best player available? Is it a tackle? I don't know. Maybe it's a guy like T'Vondre Sweat. I don't know. But at the same time, this is why it's hard to do these before free agency, because we don't know who they're going to address. But I
don't hate any of those picks whatsoever. I just think there's some guys that fell a little bit farther than I would have, and then there's just some guys where it's like, I see what you're doing there, but I think a guy behind him would do better. For example, like the Arnold and Mitchell thing. I think, again, both good players, both are getting taken in teams that need cornerback, but just for me, I'd be like, I would do this. But I really don't hate any of the fits whatsoever. I think you hit all the team needs very well.
And I think the big thing, I appreciate that. And I think the big thing too with us as Lions, as people who cover the Lions, that when you pay attention to the draft, guys are going to fall, guys are going to rise. Like the guys you were saying that should go higher, they're probably going to go higher. Like, who knows? Quinyon Mitchell might fall to the 20s. Like, he might be there for the Lions, honestly, at this point. So that's why I love doing these. But again, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Don't forget, subscribe, like the video, and turn on post notifications so you're alert when we do post content. We're going to be doing more of these. I want to do one with you, Lucas, where it's your draft, and I'll help break it down. We'll take turns with this. We'll compare the Ball Nowhere Hollywood's full first round NFL mock draft for 2024. You can catch us live weekdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. with Crunch Time with the entire cast of fellas. Until then, we appreciate you and have a great day.